everybody, welcome back to the studio. How's everyone doing? I hope everybody's doing great and creating and doing something really amazing with themselves, for themselves and for others. Here I have the canvas and the board, which I primed a few days ago with just some PVA glue and some pigments, just straight up PVA glue on the board. If you haven't seen it, go back and have a look at that. And so I've got my PVA glue in a little, this used to be gosh, this is so old but such a useful little thing, you know. It used to be like a hair dye came in that excuse me. And because I buy PVA glue in a big, like a 4 litre, is it 4 or 3 or 4 litres, which is nearly like a gallon, big bottle. So I just put it in this and it works well, but I've lost the lid, so I just stick something in there to make sure it doesn't, and of course, here we go. I just stick that in there so it doesn't, you know, dry up on me, which is not a problem. It's easy to clean, but you know, I like to be proactive. So, scissors. I'm going to tape the bottom, and I will speed up this part because it's pretty self-explanatory. So right up to the edge, and then I shall be back shortly with the rest. I just want to tell you to go right up to the edge, but maybe slightly a little bit inside, only because if this tape is sticking out, the resin will be grabbed, it will just slide underneath it. But if you go just maybe even 1 millimeter or half a millimeter, even, doesn't matter, just on the edge, not more inwards, you know. So I'm just going to cut that because it's sticking out too much. So these little things, like, they may sort of sound like they're not important, but they are. And this one I've got to go over because the other tape is not straight. See, if I see it going, it's just so easy for resin to just slide underneath that tape. So we don't let it, we're just going to go like that and cut it a little bit. And then this one here I've got to fix as well. There. And then I'm going to go around with just the back of my scissors, or anything you have, and just press down on that edge, just to make sure that's nice and stuck really well. Any tape, like, you don't have to have the most expensive tape. If you just stick it on and leave it, don't press it down, it won't work, you know. You've got to, it doesn't help when you've got bumpy bits there, because you can't really, I just try to do as much as I can now, and believe me, I used to be really quick. I just feel like I need to do Mia, my goodness, every time I'm in here, dogs thinks that they need to bark at everything. So I used to just get inspired and I want to do a piece of art, and I'll just start doing it without putting any tape on the bottom of it. And you know what, I usually say, I'm not worried, because, you know, resin will come off easy with heat and that's no problem. But then you put it aside and you forget about it for a few days or a few years, and then somebody says, I'd like to buy that, and then you can't take the bloody things off. They're stuck. If you try to get it off, you get half your canvas off. So that's why it's good to take time and tape. Plus it looks pretty, doesn't it? I'm going to do this one as well, so I'm going to use a thicker Maybe you use the same one. I do have a thicker one which I thought might be better, but that's all right. This one's a little bit trickier to do. And you can even put like a piece of paper on it and then tape around if you're worried. But yeah. But I'm just going to go like this, and then I'm just going to cut that. So this one will take a little bit longer to do. Scissors, because it's round, and you got to go around, around, around. Ah, so speed this bit up. And same deal actually with cutting. You want to use your scissors and have your board a little bit on an angle so you can cut it inwards and not outwards so that the tape is sticking out. I mean, more experienced resin artists will probably agree with me, but you forget. You don't sort of remember to tell the newbies about these little things, you know, that are important. They could affect something, the outcome. It could definitely affect the outcome, because if you have a drop of resin which sort of slid underneath there, and then you have supposed to pull it off, and you're not only going to rip your board, but when you try to pull it off, it might rip the actual painting as well. So it's good to be a little bit, you know, prepared. So I'm going to go around and just around the edge. See, you can even see the color change there because I'm pressing that bit in, and I'm not even worried about the rest of it. Just that edge is important. And all the way around. So we're going to try and make this super simple, but these little preparations are important, I think. So then what we do is I usually hold it like this. It's easier for me, actually. No, this way. Duh. And then I'm going to cut it on an angle. See how I'm going on an angle? Because I want the scissors to cut a little bit inward. You know what I mean? And I'll show you in a minute. It's, if I went like this, I'd have bits sticking out. That's why I got to do it like this. And probably a lot of people will think this is common sense, but I'll tell you what, when I did this workshop many years ago, and I was fairly new at resin as well, but I had a lot of experience. Fairly new, saying I haven't done it for like a long time, like some people will do it for years and years, like I've been now. But at the time, I had a lot of experience because I was doing it every day for about a year. Like I experimented so much. Anyway, I went to do this workshop, and I thought it would be important to, well, I don't even know if I thought it would be important. This is what I tend to do. I just get in talking and then explaining everything that I do. It's actually really hard for me not to explain what I'm doing. It's really strange. Must be the inner teacher, and must be the Sagittarius thing. But and I was telling them, make sure you angle it so you're cutting it, and they were like, oh, all right. And I don't think at the time they realized the significance of it being done right. Now I come across a bit of MDF. It's not letting me go through that. There we go. And then nothing was mentioned until a couple of the ladies, like weeks after, said, you know that trick that you taught us about, how to cut the tape off the board? It really works, and it's really great for taking the resin off. And see that? It is perfect. It's on right on the edge, maybe 0.5 millimeter in, and that's all you need. And then go around again with the back of the scissors or anything you've got, even a stirring stick, and just pull that, and there we go. That is that. Who would have thought 11 minutes went by just by doing that? But I think because I've been mucking around and talking and stuff, it's usually only takes like 5 minutes. Excuse me. Oh, dear me. Spring's coming, and it already smells like spring in the air, and it's so lovely. Now I will have some spillage. You can do it so you don't have spillage, and that's if you put the tape up here, so the tape goes like this, okay, and then it won't spill. But then especially if you're working with the canvases, they may sort of bow a little bit, or just the sink a little bit in the center, and then your waves and that will kind of won't be as good, and that will prevent it from spilling out, so everything will kind of go to the middle, and you don't want that. And this still may actually I may need to get a little bit of some water on here to tighten it. Okay, so you can use some stretchers. I don't, because on a small canvas like this it will be fine, but on a bigger canvas I worry about not perfectly evening all the corners, and then you have pull on one side, and if you're doing this is not even going to fit in here. This is a faulty one, wouldn't even be able to fit them. See that? How strange. Anyway, being a small canvas like this, I'm not worried about it. It'll be fine. Even if the stretchers went in there, it wouldn't be fine unless I really jammed it in there, because when you put the resin on and when it starts to set, it kind of pulls everything in. The board is great, nothing will move. But with your resin, and if it's with your canvas, if it's a big canvas, you might get that kind of warping. So you got to be careful how you stretch it and how you do it. So what I'm going to do to tighten it a little bit, I'm just going to spray some. See how that's a little bit. It's not that bad actually, but I want to show you. You just spray a little bit of water. I even spray alcohol, but I haven't got alcohol in here at the moment. Because alcohol evaporates, so it dries quicker. But you put a bit of water in there, and then actually smells like alcohol, because I used to keep alcohol in there, and I just put some water in it. Yeah, so when that dries, it'll shrink it'll shrink the actual canvas. So I can already feel it, even just by having that water on there. But that'll dry, and it'll shrink it down, pull it, tighten it a bit better. Okay, so we're going to be mixing some resin. I've got my little, I don't know if you can see that there, my little tumbler that I'm going to do with because I don't need a lot of resin for that. So I'm going to do that with the leftovers, if there's any leftover resin. And I've got my resin sitting outside in the sun, so it should be ready. And I shall be back very shortly. Before I get my resin in here, just want to let you know, another important thing is to level your canvas or your board. And this one here is almost perfect. It's leaning a little bit that way, but it's not bad. And this side here is perfect. I'm actually really, really surprised, because this table is one of those pull-out tables. It's always a little bit, it's got a bit of a bump in the center, because that's where it folds. It's like a fold, and yeah, it's definitely affected this guy. That's fine, so I'm going to move it for a second, and then I'm going to stick something underneath there. Don't need a lot. Keep that there so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. I blew my nose, so I'm not sniffling so much. I'm not sick. I think it's just hay fever or something. So I've just got some folded paper, because I think stirring stick will be a little bit too big. Looks like I did it right. Let's have a look at this side. This side's not happy because that's where that fold is. That's happy and that's good, but this side, yeah, I need to lift it just a tiny little bit over here. Yeah, if you get a fold up table, it's fine, just don't be in the middle. Just go more towards, you know, the end. All right, let's see if we can do it. It's not bad, but we need to lift just a tiny little lift. Well, and that's perfect now. Let's see if it mucked up this side. Oh, I did muck it up a little bit. Wow, okay. Sometimes. Yeah, that's not bad. Sorry, I am taking time because I want to make sure that this is right. This one's pulling up a little bit. I'm not going to touch it. It's just going to be pulling towards one end. I'm just going to let it happen whichever way it wants to happen. Now we're going to put this one. Now I've got to work this way. Oh, gosh, wrong way. Because I can't fit them on the mat that way. So I've got to go this way. Which is okay. And yeah, we're ready to start mixing. Okay, so we are back. We are mixing our resin. So I've got the platinum art coat, which is 1:1 ratio, which means 1 part A, 1 part B, for those of you who don't know. And part A is always a little bit thicker than part B, and because it's a little bit cool still in here, I heated the bottles just by having a heater on and putting the bottles in front of the heater. If it was a sunny day, I'd have them outside just sitting in the sun. That works as well. I have something not meant to be in there. Get rid of it. Must have been a bit of fluff or something. There we go. So that's going in. And you'll see this is part B. Look how runny that is. Part B is always a little bit runnier than part A. I don't recommend you mixing your resin on top of your actual piece, but I'm actually struggling for free space at the moment because I've got stuff all around me that I'm currently doing, so that's why. And I'm going to go back in here. Okay, so then we're going to mix it. I'm using a big stick. I need my, this is an antibacterial wipe, so it's got some alcohol in it, and it's really handy to have because it wipes resin off really well, so that's a good thing to have handy. Some people use baby wipes. I find that they don't really work for me because I'm used to this working instantly and I don't want to have to rub and scrub. So, or if you even got like a spray bottle of isopropyl alcohol and a cloth, that'll work as well. So I'm just going to give this a bit of a stir, and I can see that it's getting really murky now. It's because it's cooled down again, and to fix that, I can use my heat gun, which is not plugged in at the moment, but I've got my hairdryer, which I'm going to be using. I'm going to just pop a little bit of hot air in here. This hairdryer is really good because it's got 3 settings for the speed and the heat. And see how that's already loosened up nicely. Okay. So I'm just going to keep stirring this probably for the next 2 or 3 minutes until it's clear and there's no stringy bits in there, nothing, just clear. And I'm using a thicker stirrer here, or tongue depressor. This is a large tongue depressor, and then you can get even larger than that, the jumbo ones. I'm using this one because it makes it quicker to mix rather than using a really skinny thin stirrer like a chopstick or something like that you can use. But it's, to me, this is much faster, and I'm all about being proactive, you know. So this resin is going to give me plenty of working time. Always look or talk to the manufacturer and find out how long you have, how much working time, and how long is the pot time. Because if I left this and walked away, it will cook and solidify, and it could even cause a fire. So you don't want to leave it and go away for like an hour. This is going to give me plenty of working time, probably about 40 minutes, even longer, because as you get more experience, you learn how to stretch it, stretch the time, so you can work with your resin for over an hour and a half, even 2 hours sometimes. Like I will do it if I want a thick sort of outcome with some texture. I will wait and then do it that way. Okay, so this is looking good. There's a lot of bubbles in there. I'm going to have a look inside and make sure that there's no stringy bits, and it's hard to see from all the bubbles. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour that back in here, just because I want to pick up some of that resin that was left behind and then give it another little stir, because this part A was hard to, I'll put you back up here and then wipe it if I have to. Yeah, part B is good, it's all out, but so I'm going to stir that in there, and then I'm going to pour it all out, back out. Give it a good scrape and get rid of all of that. Also with these silicone cups, silicone measuring cups, good idea is to clean them straight away. I've tried flipping them upside down. They don't drain properly because it is silicone. And so what I do is just shove that, I shove that wipe in there, and then just go round and round, and it picks it up really beautifully. Look at that. And then when you're finished, you can go over it one more time if you want. But to me, that's good to go. Nice and clean, no drips. It's really hard to get rid of the little drips. I even got a few here. I don't know if you can see that there. Can you hear it? Just little drips. And when you get them all over, it's really annoying and hard to clean. So it only takes but a minute, not even, to clean this. You got your gloves, so don't worry about getting some resin on your gloves. But that to me is beautiful and ready to go again. I will give it another once over after. And now I'm going to just get rid of this. Might even pop it in there for now and get another fresh one, because I have got a drop. Don't mind Mia, my daughter's dog, and she's always hanging around outside my door. She's protecting me, I don't know what from. So there we go. And I've got my Millie in here, which I just realised because she sneaks in here, but she's under the table. I'm going to kick her outside. So the sun's out, beautiful, so she can go and sun herself out there. I don't want anybody in here while I'm working with resin other than me, of course. Just in case. Although this resin is supposed to be non-toxic, but I'm going to just be cautious, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, now mixing the colors. So this piece here, we're just going to do with the clear and the white to show you that it can be done. And this is primed beautifully just with PVA glue and pigments like that. Okay, so I just painted it on, and that stays on, and it's not going anywhere. If you just use water, that will just rub off. So PVA glue or other medium, if you've got other mediums, that's fine. I use PVA glue because it seals everything, the whole canvas, so it works as a primer as well, so it works. Now, mixing pigments is different to mixing with pastes. So with the pigments, I would go in with the pigment first. Like when you get more experience, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want. You'll know how to mix. But I just want to teach you how to do it so you mix your pigment properly. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of pigment. It doesn't matter how much pigment you put in there because it's dry. Any dry product with resin will work. It's not going to stop it from, you know, from setting or anything like that because it's dry. And then so you make a paste. You make sure that you mix that really, really well. And there it is. We got our paste now. And now we're going to add more, as much as you want, and then just stir it in. Okay, so I don't need a lot. Okay. And then you just stir that in. There we go. You can even leave it a little bit like that so it's not so mixed in, just gives you a different effect. You can do that with the pigment powder. There we go. That one's done. That's ready. That's going to be for this here. Now, we're going to be mixing up some of our Angel White, which is a paste. This guy we're going to mix in slightly differently. I better keep everything in one because when I'm editing my video, I'm going to be all over the place. So you can fill up your cup, no problem. Fill it up. You don't have to do the same style as this. And then you're going to get about that much, small, tiny little baby pea size. For this is about a bit smaller than an ounce, or maybe it is an ounce, I don't know. It's a medicine cup. And then you just give that a really good stir and scrape off your stirrer here. And you got to do that a couple of times just to make sure. So you're scraping it off the sides, because this guy, if you don't mix it up properly, it's not going to set, because this is epoxy. It's not like a powder which would be no problem setting. Okay, so we got our white ready. Now I want to get another little cup because I want to use, actually maybe I can even use, I'm going to have that there. Okay, sorry, just thinking out loud. It's not a bad thing to do. So I'm going to go in with a little bit more. I don't need a lot at all because this is just going to be for my sand on this side here. So just a tiny little bit. And then I'm going to get this color, which is called the Pink Pearl. They are all Le'Rez products. And a little bit. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's the problem. This is another thing you're going to learn. It has solidified and there's been separation. So I've got the binder on top and the pigment down the bottom. I'll show you how we're going to fix this. If I had a teacup here, teapot or something with boiling water, I would put that in a bowl just like that, and it would melt within 2 minutes. But I don't have it, so I'm just going to use my trusty old heat gun, or a hairdryer in this case. Heat gun works faster because it's hotter and it's already starting to. But if I had like really hot water, there would be no problem at all just popping that whole thing. Put the lid on it, obviously, in the boiling water, or slightly light, slightly, you know, let it cool down a little bit, a few degrees, and then pop that in. The jars are very strong, they're not going to melt. And then here we go. Before I couldn't even go through it. Now look, I'm going digging into it. See that? And even if I let that sit out in the warm sun, it would do the same thing. It would just take longer. Although, these days with how hot the sun is, I don't know. So, I mean, we're still in winter and it's so warm outside. Now, if you're using a heat gun, obviously you would not hold it there for that long. You would only hold it there for like 2 seconds. Count to 2. 1, 2, and move it away. Give it a couple of seconds to cool down, then go again. 1, 2, until you know you're happy. Now I've got that little bit there that's ready for me. I don't need to do the whole thing, so I just want to change the color of. Oh wow, that's a bit too much. This is quite a transparent, so it doesn't matter if I put a little bit extra. Okay, so there we go. That's really transparent, so I'm going to go a little bit more with the pink, although that would probably be nice. I'm just going to give it test it here. No, see, you can't even see it. Okay, let's go more. Get another stirring stick. We'll wipe this one. Hello, can you let Millie out, please? I don't want her in here. Sorry about that interruption. My grandson just rocked up. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit more. So I'm just scraping away the binder. I'm just going to grab a little bit of that pigment and stick it in there. Now give it a really good stir. My stick broke, so I'm going to get another one. These are only very small, thin stirrers. This is a good one. This one's not going to break. Okay, so now I've got a really pretty color, very transparent. Just making sure I stir it all in really well with the pigment powder. You don't have to worry about it so much with stirring it all in. It's not going to do any damage, but with these you have to. So now I've done that, I'm going to just put like a few drops of my white in there just to show you. So this was a paste and this is the pigment, and it doesn't matter, it's still going to work, so don't worry. It's just going to slightly make this more opaque, and it's gonna somebody's hanging around my door again. I can hear them. So it's making it slightly more opaque and changes the color a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay, so here we go. There was another interruption. Oh, there we go. So it's really pretty now. Looks like a really pale corally color now. Slightly opaque. That's going to be great for our sand over here. Alright, and then we've got, I've already got that one. So I think we're good to go now. I've got little bits and pieces sitting around like molds and things like that I want to fix. Just so that I've got everything here in case I've got any leftover resin. I've got where to put it, so I don't waste any, you know. There will be some drippage, some leakage. We are ready to start. Before we start here, I want to get this guy cranking. I want to get him to move, and I'm just going to use a little bit of my clear just to get it started. And I need to use my hand here to, don't need a lot at all. Oh, left hand. I'm definitely not a lefty. Ah, okay, so here we go. I just want that to start moving, and then I'm going to add some pigments to it. That's all I'm doing with this. And then I'm going to have to take my glove off because it's obviously all covered. Wow, it just feels so weird doing it with my left hand. Maybe go this way. Here we go. It's making it nicer. If you want to see how I did this video, you might want to go back a few, or if you are watching this video on my Le'Rez channel, then you might need to go to the Suzana Dancks channel and watch this, because I've got two channels. One is more of a professional one for work, and the other one is where I get to enjoy and do all kinds of art just because, you know. I love to experiment and I love to do things that make me happy, which is art, all kinds of different arts. Alright, so we're going to let that's just going to spin like that all by itself and not bother anyone. And I need to, actually I'm just going to clean my hand. I don't even need to get another glove, I'm just going to clean it with this alcohol wipe. And it will be good as gold. Alright, now come back down. Okay guys, so I decided to do this as a voiceover now because the kids were getting a little bit loud. They're playing in the yard. So the canvas we're going to do with just the clear and the white to create the waves, just to show you that it can be done just like that, and it does create some amazing effects and like a 3D type of effect. And you know, and then you can add another layer to that and make it even more effective. So I'm just using my hand here, my gloved hand, just to spread that resin around. It's something very satisfying to me anyway. It's just using my hands in paint or resin or whatever medium I'm using. It's just it's very satisfying, to say the least. So I'm just making sure to distribute that clear resin everywhere. It's very satisfying, and doing the sides as well, very important, because once I do that, the white, or even if I was using any other colors, when you're working with wide sort of edge canvas like this, you want it to flow really well. So I'm making sure to apply that resin on the edges and the sides and everywhere, so that when it starts flowing, it actually flows properly and you don't get that the sort of break in the flow, which, you know, it's not a good thing. So that's all I'm doing here. And now I've cleared up all the stuff hanging around, and I'm going to put some of that lovely peacock green Le'Rez pigment, which is absolutely gorgeous for ocean scenes. And I'm just liberally kind of just letting it streak around, and now just adding some of that clear, which you'll see I haven't mixed in. I've just let it sort of fall like this, and it creates its own little design, which is absolutely amazing. And now applying that gorgeous pearl pink, or pink pearl, mixed in with a bit of angel white paste just for my sand. It's very beautiful, subtle pigment. This is a pigment paste, epoxy paste, and it's quite transparent, but when mixed in with a bit of white, it turns it into like an opaque, really pretty and very appropriate for a sand color. So just kind of spreading it around a little bit. You just got to understand that you need to enjoy what you're doing. Don't worry. And I know that when you're a very newbie, you worry about things, setting up. Nothing is going to set up very, very super quickly. You can sort of feel when it's starting to thicken, and even then you still have some time left. Like if your resin starts to thicken, depending on what resin you're using, and I suggest you try different resins and then stick to the one that works for you, and then you get to know its nature and how fast it sets. Some resins, they will give you like half an hour working time, and then all of a sudden it'll just start to get thick and set up. So you just need to know, test all different types of resins until you are happy with the one you like. Because this one that I'm using, and I'm not affiliated with this company, but I just love their resins. It's called Platinum, and this particular one is Platinum Art Coat. It's a flexible resin, so it means that you can use it on countertops and tables and things like that. It's flexible. It's not going to be rock solid and like glass. I mean, it will set up and cure, obviously solid, but it will have that characteristic that it is a little bit flexible. So if there's a bit of heat and a cold, with things expanding and retracting, it's not going to crack it. It's not going to do anything to it. So I love using it for my art pieces. And you can see here I'm using just my finger there to just move, pretty much just covering the bare parts of the board. So we're just about ready to get the white, and here we go, just using the stick and pulling that white through. I am hovering over the resin. I'm not sticking that sticking the stick like that into that board, because of I don't want to dirty my white. And I'm going to do the same on the canvas, which doesn't have any pigment on it. It's just clear resin. I'm just pulling that nice and gentle, and I'm going to go over it twice because I want it to be thickened, because I'm going to be using my hairdryer in here. I usually use a heat gun, but I decided to use a hairdryer here because not everybody that's starting off with resin has a heat gun, but almost everybody has a hairdryer. So you just need a setting that it's hot. I have it on a hot setting and blowing fairly forcefully, because you need that to move, So I just had a little drop there that I've removed from there because I know it's going to affect the overall outcome. So I'm just heating up. This is only on low speed, high heat, low speed, and then I speed it up, and you can see how that's moving. It's just amazing how it just creates these ripples, which is quite pretty. So you can just go to town with this and just keep going back and forth and see when you want to stop. And you can't do that with a heat gun, because a heat gun will, if you hold it for a period of time on in one spot, it will burn your resin, and it's not a pretty picture. You definitely need to let that set and then sand it back and then do it again. But with the hairdryer, it's not as hot. It still gets hot enough, but not too hot. So I'm just going back and forth with this really, and adding more white now, just to add some more, I guess, texture in here, if you would call it that. Yeah, probably texture, and a little bit more character. So I'm just going over it, and then I'm going to hit it with a bit more heat. So this is, it's your picture. It is your artwork. You do with it what you want. Don't overdo it with a white, because it can take over unless that's what you want to do. So like I said, it's your artwork. You do with it what you want. So I'm just blowing that white again. I just want to create a little bit more foam, and look at that, how pretty. It's so satisfying even just watching it after, in the video. So a little bit more on this, and just deliberately blowing directly onto those white lines to create that lovely foam. And yeah, I'm gonna go over it again with a little bit more white, just adding some more character to the piece. You could do just one big fat line of white and blow that over the whole piece, and that'll be your foam. I always tend to do more lines, but you can do one and just blow the heck out of it, and it'll just cover the whole piece with foam. And that's very pretty as well, very effective. And then you can turn these little pieces that you do into clocks. I just get a clock mechanism and fit it in, and it'll look really, really lovely. So there you have it. And I'm using the torch here just to blow the bubbles that appear on the surface. Those bubbles, a lot of the times they pop all by themselves, but it's good to just help them out a little bit with the torch, and the torch is the best to do that. And now I'm just going to finish off my little tumbler here, just adding some white to it. It's already got the clear, and it's been spinning there for the past half an hour, whatever I've been working on. I'm adding some of that lovely sand color. And yeah, the tumbler, actually I have no experience with it other than just doing one. And like I said, if you want to see how I did this, you have to look at my previous videos, one of the previous videos where I actually do that. That was the first time I ever did a tumbler. So I'm just adding some of that peacock green. It's one of my favorite colors, peacock green and turquoise blue pigment paste by, of course, my Le'Rez Expressions. It's a really, really pretty color. It's not even coming across so well in this video, but it's really lovely. So I'm just adding it here and there and letting it mix with that clear, and as it's spinning it sort of grabs it, and the gravity does what it does. It's amazing. I really like that. I'm gonna have to leave this to spin for probably good 10 hours or something until it's completely set and cured. It'll probably take a good couple of days to cure completely, but once it's set, it's good. You can take it off and you can stop the spinning. This is just something that you might want to try and do when you get used to resin, but I thought I added as well, just as a bonus to show you what you can do. And these make really lovely presents, like birthday presents, Christmas presents, whatever. They're really, really nice thing to do. Just tell people not to put them in the dishwasher. They don't do really well in dishwasher. So just gonna let it spin, and the white's gonna come soon. I'm just getting ready for that white to get on board. And here we go. As it's spinning, I'm just pretty much holding that stick and allowing it to move with the flow. And that's all I'm doing with it. And in the previous video, I showed you how I actually used the heat gun to blow that white, and it did create lovely foam, but as it kept spinning, it just and rotating, it just kind of turned into this continuous line. So I am not going to be using the heat gun on this. I'm just going to let it spin and do its thing, and it will turn out good. I have faith and confidence that it'll be nice. So that's all I'm doing, just going around. How satisfying is it? Just watching this. There's something about it, isn't it? I did use the heat gun, the torch. There it is, just to blow the bubbles and just softly heat the resin a little bit, and then let it go, and then that's it. So that's pretty much it from me. I am very, very pleased to have done this video for you guys, and I'm going to be showing you the end results when it's done, possibly tomorrow. So I have used the hair dryer. Sorry, I'm being distracted because Millie, my dog, she's next to me and she's sleeping. She's fast asleep and she's snoring. And I've just mentioned her name and her eye opened. So that was that sound. There's always some sort of noise around me. I don't know, guys. Just as long as you get something out of it, as long as you learn something, that's important. And try to ignore the sounds. But look at these pieces. How pretty do they look? So I'm really, really pleased with this. You never know what it's going to turn out looking like. I just wanted to show you another thing. This may be slightly a little bit advanced. Just adding a little bit of that angel white and in a sort of a zigzaggy motion, and this just creates an extra dimension, because the resin is still going to do what it does. It's going to slightly move, and that clear will grab what it does, and that extra little bit of pigment paste that goes on top, and you can't see it now because my bloody hand's covering it, but it's just like adds extra dimension and extra sort of texture that you can't really see, can't really feel, because it just look at that. See that? It just creates something extra. That's all I'm going to call it. Something extra. You know, I'm a type of artist and teacher that and tutor that works off and creates by intuition, and sometimes I will just do things that I don't really think or plan. So I will encourage all of you to just tap into your intuition, because if you are watching this video or watching other people's videos, you obviously want to learn and you want to do this type of art, and it obviously means that you are creative deep down. So allow yourself to just let go and do things, maybe something that other people don't do. You do it. It's your style, and it's your creativity and your gift. So just do it, okay? You can learn a little bit from me today and a little bit from somebody else, but it's what you learn from your own experience that is gold. And I will encourage every single one of you watching this just to do it, because you're all special in your own way, and you're all very, very creative. Because if something, excuse me, brought you to this channel to watch this, it just means that you're ready. You're ready to do it. So just go ahead and do it. And if you stuff up your first piece, don't worry about it. Resin is amazing because you can always resin over it. Just give it a little sand and go again until you get it right. And that is all from me for now. I will show you some probably short little screenshots of the outcome, and hopefully you will give it a go, and hopefully you have learned and been inspired by this. So thank you very much. Bye for now. Here we go, day 2, or the next day. I'm really pleased with this. Look at it, beautiful. And just a few drops. I'm trying not to hold my... Okay, so I'm going to be needing something here. Or maybe not. It's coming off easy. See? If you leave it, some resins, they'll go really rock solid, and it'll be... You may need something to help the tape lift, you know, and then the drops will lift with the tape. But I don't have any problem with this resin. It's a bit of tape left back there because I really like pushed it in. So that's coming off beautifully. I'm trying not to put my fingers on my resin just yet. It is all cured. It's been 24 hours, but I just don't want to have any residues of my fingers to, you know, go on my resin piece. It's best not to do that. You have oils and things on your fingers, and you have to clean it. Now that looks good. I love that one. Okay, let's have a look at this one now. I didn't have a lot of spillage, which is great. Not a lot of cleaning up to do. And I also keep these little droplets because they're really cool on you know, to use in your art pieces. They make a really, really nice effect. So I'll be collecting those. Okay, so this one had no color in it other than what was already on the board. So you just had the white and the clear, and how not a huge difference, is there? This one's just a little bit darker, and with this one you can sort of see that it's a canvas underneath. Alrighty, let's have a look over here. Few drops. Those drops, they will just pop off real easy. But you can go, if you're struggling, I just want to get rid of these bumpy bits. So if you're struggling, just get your heat gun and just go over and loosen them up. So you loosen them up, they'll pop off easier. Let's go with the tape. Go with the tape. See that was that corner that I told you about, how it sneaks in underneath. Here we go. It's coming off. Oh, that one stayed on there. There we go. If you have, the tape is ripping. Not to worry. I'll show you what to do there. Okay, so even a ruler or something like that will work. Just see how that helps. The tape is ripping. That's what's causing it. And we're coming up to... There we go. Come on. Come on. Sometimes you have to talk to it. This is very soft. It's not really working for me. Alright, let's try this way. So you get the idea. You take, see, I've got bits of tape left behind. That's alright, I can clean that. But you know what? Because I've really sort of rubbed it in there. It's good. None of the resin leaked out, which is great. Really good. And there you have it. Well, I hope, oh, that one lifted up some of the canvas. Go back in there. Might have to glue that bit. That's why it's best not to be too rough with it, you know. And I didn't heat up this part. I've got a drop there. So anyway, you get the overall idea, and hopefully you've learned something, and I will see you soon in another video. Please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.